It's been asked many times, what's your relationship with life now? There's no doubt that the answers to that question has been different each time it's been asked. Where is the end to this constant changing of perception for us? The other day when we were together at Jaya's, it was reminded of that old anecdote about the time when the fifth Zen patriarch had to find his successor. And the old abbot asked the head monk to write something on the wall as evidence of his realization. And the old head monk wrote on the wall, "The body is the Bodhi tree, the mind a mirror bright. We carefully clean it hour by hour to let no dust alight." But then the old kitchen monk, who had stirred the rice for many years, an old peasant who'd been in the monastery since childhood, came by and, reading those words, crossed them out and wrote, "There is no Bodhi tree, nor stand of mirror bright. When everything is emptiness, where can the dust alight?" What is it that lies between these two statements of realization, one depicting movement and the other depicting stillness, cessation, emptiness? Over these many years, there have been many stories told about mirrors. Just to give a little précis of several of them, to make a point. There is that funny story about Edo, whose father dies, and then he goes to Kyoto and he finds in a stall a mirror, and he looks in it and says, "Dad, Dad, is that you? I'm so glad to see you. I've missed you so much." And the story of the young girl, beautiful, whose mother dies, but the mother had been given a mirror in which she could see her own beauty, but kept it hidden from her daughter until she died, and then she passed it on. And when her daughter opened and looked, she too saw her mother and found comfort, speaking to the mirror, her mother, each day. The father did not dare to take away the mirror from his daughter, because this was her solace, this was her comfort. And she never grew, she never came to know that that which he saw was her real self, beautiful, as she appeared in the mirror. Then there's the story of Beerbal, as a young boy, when King Akbar came around from town to town seeking to give an award to anyone who could paint his portrait accurately. This young boy came and presented him with a mirror, and he laughed and he said, "Yes, this is a true picture of myself. Come and see me when you've grown up." And when he did, this young boy became Beerbal, the advisor, the counselor, the confidant of King Akbar. And then there's that story of the Taoists and the Confucianists when the emperor was seeking to choose between them those who were most worthy of being his advisors, and he set up the chamber in which a drape was placed to separate them. And the Confucianists got busy with their paints and brushes and painted the most exquisite mural. And the Taoist merely polished the opposite wall until it became like a mirror. And when the drapes were separated, the mural that was still and lifeless in the mirror that the Taoists had prepared came alive. It was the Taoists who were chosen to be the king's advisor. But there's another version of this story. It's a version that comes out in the Jewish faith, and it has a very similar trait. The two artists who were challenged to receive gold to the one who could create the most beautiful painting. Again, a separation was made in the room, and one artist got very busy painting an exquisite piece of a depiction of life and the king, and the other, he too painted the wall and polished it so bright that it became a mirror. When it came time for the king to judge, he came and looked and saw the exquisite piece of artwork. And he then looked at the other wall and saw that it was a mirror that reflected the beauty of that which had been created by the other. But when it came time for the award of gold to be given, the artist who had painted and polished the wall to become a mirror asked, "Where is my gold?" And the king placed the pot of gold at the front of the painting that had depicted life. And he said to the artist who had created the mirror, "There is your reward. You see it reflected in what you have created." Worthless. So it's asked of you, reminding again of that story recently told of those who came to the monastery seeking entry, and those who were deemed worthy were taken by their hand, by the abbess, to a garden path. And when they walked down that path, they turned a corner and were confronted by a mirror. Some of them saw demons. Some of them saw their past lives. Some of them saw their parents, relatives that they'd loved. Some tried to climb over the mirror or around the mirror. But those who dared to press their nose against the glass found that the mirror disappeared in front of their eyes. And they emerged. And there in front of them was the old abbess waiting for them, holding in her hand a spade, which she handed to them. Where are you in this? Are you still looking in the mirror, seeing images? Have you pressed your nose against the glass? Do you know what it's like? Do you remember what it's like to press your nose against a mirror? What happens? Have you gone through that darkness of what happens when you press your nose against a mirror and everything becomes distorted and dark, and break through to find the shovel awaiting you? What did you do with it? What was the purpose of that shovel? When we break through the images of life into that place where our abbess hands us the shovel. What does it mean? What's your relationship with life now? Are you still reacting to the reflections you see? Are you seeing it all as a dance? All is hopeless, all is pain, all is anguish, all is negative, all is positive. What does this anecdote of the Zen patriarch mean? There is no Bodhi tree, nor stand of mirror bright. When everything is emptiness, where can the dust alight? What does it mean for us? What is this shovel, and what does it mean when we pass through that mirror? What's the end of this?
Well, Pat, wouldn't you just have to, with the shovel, just have to bury all the shit?
You bet.
Bury all the broken bits, bury all the whatever, because you'll emerge as a different
Right.
person.
Yes. What's been our experience of it?
Leaving the past and leaving your old self behind.
Yes, for sure. But this is something that has been come up over these days with everyone who's been encountered. The mind that brings up all of those images again. What do we have to do with them? Do we ever lay down that shovel? Do we ever lay it down? Does it mean that from then on we forever have to be vigilant and alert? Certainly we do. Not a moment of rest. Not a moment. Not a single instant. Where are you now in relationship to this mirror? How is your relationship with life? if we're not carefully polishing the mirror hour by hour to let no dust alight, what does it mean by the shovel? We were talking and have told stories about this talisman over these last days. How can we connect the dots so that we make the relationship with what that talisman is in relationship to the shovel? What is it that we can come back to when the picture, the reality of life is so painful, so dark, so... What's the relationship between this talisman and the shovel, figuratively speaking?
I think that the shovel means to work at whatever it is. And the talisman is a reminder of why.
All right.
Ritual.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.